Welcome everyone. Today we are continuing our conversation all about marriage, and we're going to look at 5 ways to find inner peace in your marriage. Now, for today's discussion, we're going to have to open up a big construct before we ever get into the practical applications of this construct. But with Hashem's loving help, I think that you may see, at least this is how it appears to me, that this construct is so helpful because it actually speaks about the inner machinery of marriage and shalom bayis. This is like how it works. And for me, I have found this to be so helpful because marriage is something that we are constantly figuring out. It's like an everyday thing. There's not a day that goes by where you're not working on your marriage in some way, being a little kinder to your spouse or managing your feelings or trying to work together or having a great conversation or having a difficult conversation. Marriage is the most dynamic thing there is, and we could really use some help figuring out how does it work. So often we just go into marriage blindly with just an idea of we're going to love each other, it's going to be incredible, we're going to communicate. But then you find out that there's so much more to it. It's a lifelong journey. So I hope that today's class can be helpful to you. Please stay with me, okay? I'm just asking you because I think that this is awesome stuff with Hashem's help, and maybe it can help you. That's the main thing. So we're looking at the story of Jacob and Rachel and Leah, how Yaakov married Rachel and Leah. Now, there is a source that says that Yaakov was actually ashamed that he married 2 sisters. This was not ideal. And we can feel in our hearts so naturally and easily what a terrible thing it was that there had to be 2 wives. It's a recipe for heartbreak. The Torah says that Leah felt hated. Of course she felt hated. She knew that Rachel was the intended one for Yaakov, and there she was. She literally felt like second, not worse than second, not even wanted, hated. So what does all this mean, and how can this teach us about our shalom bayis? So something that's important to know is that from the beginning of time, it was always meant to be that Rachel and Leah were going to be one soul. But due to the sin in the Garden of Eden, that soul got fragmented into 2 parts. And this fragmentation, this separation of the souls, where now there's a Rachel and a Leah, is actually the cause, the root for all disharmony. When we have Rachel and Leah coming together properly, everything relaxes. Now we can come to wholeness. Now we can work. So what exactly does this mean? You know, when Adam was going to get a wife, Hashem said, I'm going to make you an ezer kenegdo, a helpmate against you. What does that mean? That means I'm going to make you a woman who is going to both support you and challenge you. Listen in how that goes. Isn't that interesting? The original woman had both sides to her, Rachel and Leah, the supporter and the challenger, right? The surrendered one and the leader one. It was always supposed to be like that. But they got split. So our job is to find our own inner Rachel and our inner Leah, and to learn how these 2 parts work within us. And I'm going to help you just in a few minutes to explore that. And when we can find that inner peace, naturally it changes the dance with our spouse, okay? Because they are the other half of our soul. So again, this is going to have very practical applications. We'll see how it goes. So the way that we can look at Rachel and Leah is, there's many deep layers to this, but we're just going to say that Rachel is the feminine aspect of the woman. It's the aspect of surrender, of yielding, of compassion, of selflessness. It's almost like she is pure light. I'm only here for you. I'm here to support you. I can support you physically by cooking and cleaning. I can support you emotionally by being interested in your projects. I can support Hashem's plan in the world by surrendering to it. And Rachel, it says that she was loved because there is something so easy to love about someone who supports you. There's something so easy to love about the feminine essence of just being in your feminine beauty, of receiving, of allowing, of letting a man be a man, of letting Hashem be Hashem, you know? And there's a beauty to that. There's a selflessness to the one who says, I'm here to support. I don't need to be front and center. I just want everyone to be happy. I want things to be appropriate. And the aspect of Rachel is the one who, I'm going to use the word support a lot because that's literally what she'll do to the nth degree. You know, her selflessness and her giving is so much. We call her Mama Rachel. She's the mama, right? She's always looking for the children. She's not really looking towards herself. So she's that quintessential mother. And when it comes to her husband, she is that quintessential feminine of reliant, yielding, surrendered. What is the energy of Leah? Leah was actually meant to marry Esav, Yaakov's twin. And Esav was supposed to uplift the physical. Before he turned into his evil ways with the physical, his real job was to uplift the physical. So who was his wife going to be? His wife was going to be a woman who knew how to take everything in this world and make something of it. She knows the right moves to make. She's got this higher connection to like the higher reality that informs her, this is what has to be done. I see the physical, and in the physical I see awesomeness, an awesome event, an opportunity, a possibility. Leah is this forward thinking one. We might call these energies supportive and dominant, but it's less about dominant as it is about a leading force. I know what I know. Leah's that male energy of the female, the voice, the one who sets boundaries, the one who protects, the one who knows what she knows. Yes? Now, you can see that when it comes to a relationship with a man, what Leah is going to bring to the table is she's going to challenge him to be a man. She's going to encourage him. She's going to see greatness in him. She's going to call him forth to who he's really meant to be. Leah has big vision, and so she literally is a gift, okay? And Leah is called the quintessential queen, the Malka. She has something inside of her that is royalty. From her comes Yehuda, Judah, and from there comes Mashiach. Now, all this is like so interesting because somehow we, each of us, men and women, but I'm just going to focus on women for now, are meant to inhabit both. We're meant to find the soft, yielding, surrendered part of ourselves that can allow Hashem to just do what he does and we just lean into trust, and can allow our husbands to lead and to be strong and know what they know and be accessed in their Leah self, right? And then at the same time, we also are meant to have a voice to speak up for our needs, to set boundaries, to say what we see, yes, and to stand in a certain queenship and refinement, which speaks of self. It doesn't speak of I'm giving and giving. There is a self there, okay? And in this way, encouraging a man, building him up, sharing with him of your deep bina. Your bina is your deep inner knowledge. That's a gift that women have. And somehow we're meant to be both. I call it soft and strong. And some of us lead with a soft and then are strong, and some of us lead with a strong and then are soft. And it's a big work. What happens when these two parts of us are out of balance, when we're not in inner harmony? Let's say a woman is inhabited in her Rachel self, but she doesn't yet know about her Leah self. What will land up with that woman is that she will be a martyr. She will give beyond the point that she really can give. She'll be physically or emotionally exhausted. She may not even bring out the best in her husband because she's not really speaking up for her needs. So it could even be that he's not really tuned into her, right? When we are out of balance and we're too much in our Rachel, then we don't have enough self to really deeply take care of ourselves and to speak up for our needs. When a woman does this, she is run ragged. And this raggedness can actually affect her marriage. She can start feeling like my husband's not as attracted to me, or my husband wants me to be more spontaneous and more exciting, but I'm just trying to take care of the house, Or my husband is always running off to another idea and he doesn't even notice that I'm here and everything that I'm doing. That's how we can get when we are in the space of out of balance and too much Rachel, and we end up in resentment. What happens when we're in too much Leah? Leah really knows what she knows. She's so clear on what she knows that when she's out of balance with her softer, more compassionate self, it's not that she's not compassionate, it's that she's living in her mind and her generosity and her more than her actual soft heart. And so she's trying to make things happen. Perhaps she's pushing her husband really hard. Maybe she's putting him down. Maybe she's controlling. Maybe she has a thought to herself, like, what do I even need him for, God forbid? Like, I'm just taking care of him like one of the children. Those are even difficult words to say, but Leah can be so powerful that she can mistakenly overpower her husband's male energy. When she's in too much Leah, or too much male, too much of that leading energy, doesn't leave him a lot of room. And for herself, she literally can end up feeling so hated. She can't find her own beauty because she's not in softness towards herself. Perhaps she pushes herself so hard. She doesn't see her own beauty. She doesn't feel her husband appreciating her. She may feel like, I have to run everything. I basically run this whole show over here. And she feels what the Torah calls is hated, alone, unsupported. Yes? But meanwhile, she's doing everything. So she's out of balance in her Leah. Now, as you're listening to this, you may be thinking one of two things. You may be thinking, whoa, I'm out of balance that way, or I'm out of balance that way. Or you may be thinking, I have both. Both of my parts are hurting. The part that is like so selflessly always giving, and the part that just doesn't feel supported by a man or supported in general, right? The part that just has to work. So, you may be just experiencing the woundedness of both sisters. So what I want to just help us to see over here today is that what Hashem wants for us is that we have shalom bayis. Shalom bayis starts on the inside, inner peace. And that means that we start to deepen our understanding of Rachel and what her voice is. Her voice is the one of compassion, where we have compassion first on ourselves, literally writing to ourselves, speaking to ourselves when things are hard, not only to push forward and say, this is what Hashem wants, or this is what I've got to do, but to take a couple of minutes and to cultivate an inner voice of love towards yourself. You're doing good. You're working hard. I'm sorry that this is hard for you. I feel with you. Let's make sure that you get a rest. It's like a mama, the inner mother. And then we also want to cultivate the voice of the inner queen, right? So we're at the end, we are queen mother or mother queen. They're both royalty. That says, I need to set a boundary here, or I need to take care of myself. There's an I in here, right? I need to honor myself. Leah did not have the luxury of looking to anyone else for her beauty. She couldn't look to Yaakov because she knew that she wasn't his intended. And it says that the people in her town mocked her as if she stole her sister's husband. They said terrible, terrible things about her. She literally felt hated. Leah, our part that is Leah, is the part that needs to find her own self-knowledge of her own beauty. Okay? So remember I spoke about the inner workings of marriage? There's also an inner working to the machinery of inner peace. It means having an inner mother that is kind to you, that doesn't push you too hard, that is gentle in her voice towards you, that isn't critical towards yourself. We learn to have this voice of kindness towards ourselves. and an inner father that says, you're incredible, you're awesome, you're gorgeous, look what you do, look who you are. This inner machinery letting us know about our own belovedness, having nothing to do with anyone else. And that's Leah. Now, something that's so incredible to know about Leah is that from her comes royalty, and that Malchus, royalty, comes from shiflus. Shiflus means a feeling of lowliness. What does this mean? When I feel low about myself, because maybe I feel too strong, too powerful, I'm not getting outside validation. I don't feel beautiful in some way. Sometimes people feel very beautiful when they're martyring and being sacrificial. They feel like inwardly exalted and inwardly special, That's the Rachel experience. Leah doesn't have that experience. She naturally will gravitate towards shame. Shame at being too masculine, shame at being too loud, shame at the ways that she battles with competitiveness, right? Anyone who works with self is going to naturally have a nisayon, a test of competition, because they are growing themselves. Remember, Leah's work was the work of this world, to build herself on this world. So in the physical world, there's always hierarchy. So Leah's going to battle with competitiveness. That's just her natural state. So she has all of this lowliness to battle with, and yet what comes from her malchus? How so? Because in her competition, in her feeling of lowliness, she cries out to Hashem. She hurts from this experience of feeling hated. And Leah is called the mother of prayer. The pain of the inner shame, the pain of the woman, the pain of not feeling beautiful, that led her directly to Hashem. And she found her belovedness in the eyes of Hashem. And that's why by the time she really cemented her identity as being a queen in the eyes of Hashem, then she had Yehuda, Judah. All of the children that she had before that, they were named with referencing her pain. But when it comes to Yehuda, she says, Hapam Odeas Hashem. She names him after the words, now I will thank and praise Hashem. Now she came to a place of inner knowledge. And it so happens that like I said, stay with me, we're going to get to the practical. But it so happens that the morning after she got married, Yaakov saw that it was her, and he was so upset. And he said to her, why did you do this? This the Medrash recounts. And she says to him, I only did the same thing as you did. You switched with your brother Esav in order to get the blessing from your father Yitzchak, Isaac. That's what I did. In other words, she was telling him, you did what you had to do for the destiny of our people. You knew that if the physical was appropriated to a wicked man, it would not be good for the destiny of the entire world. So you did what you had to do, even though you were an honest, upright man. You did what you had to do. I did what I had to do. Do you know why? Because now that Yaakov has the blessings of Esav, and from our other parshios, right? Now that he has the blessings of Esav, he has a new job. He doesn't just have to be this spiritual being. He has to be a physical being also. And who's going to help him with that? His dear new wife, Leah. She's equipped for this. This is what Hashem equipped her for. So she knows how to help him with the physical. He needs her. So you see that Yaakov may have identified as the beloved of Rachel, because that's kind of like the easy part, when there's the part of a man that wants to lead and wants to be powerful and heroic, and he needs his loving wife by his side supporting all of his deeds. Yes, isn't that gorgeous? But what he also needs, what a man needs in order for him to accomplish, is a wife that's going to say, you can do it, or you can do more, or here's what I see. He needs a wife who has a voice. He needs the insight of the Leah part of ourselves. So we're going to take a pause over here, and we're going to get into the practical, but I hope that you can see with me just how big this work is. God willing, I hope to be teaching more about it in a different platform, in a very organized, linear way, because it really takes you on a healing journey to discover these two parts of yourself. But for our purposes, we're talking about marriage. We're going to go right into how does this relate to improving your marriage and finding inner peace in your marriage. So the first thing that you're going to look at is, what is the space that I mostly inhabit? And this is our first direction, our first point. What is the space that I mostly inhabit? Am I a very submissive Rachel, a very yielding, supportive Rachel? If so, is there a place where I need to be finding that inner harmony, bringing in my sister Leah on the inside and using my voice more? Okay? Rachel, it says that she cries in the heavens right now. Her rectification is to use her voice, not just to cry, not just to feel bad about things on the inside, but to speak up about them and say, this is how I feel. Okay? So listening in, am I more inhabited in Rachel? Now know that if I'm very submissive in my Rachel, then what happens is that me and my husband, in order to create a dance of shalom bayis, are always going to be making up one whole, which means that he's going to naturally be taking up more masculine energy. When I take up a little bit more masculine energy using my voice or saying my needs, I give him a chance also to heal, to be kinder, to be more present, to be there for me. I'm opening up a door for him. So when I say that the Rachel speaks her needs, I'm not talking about laying down the law. I'm not talking about putting him down, God forbid, or criticizing. I'm talking about speaking up from the soft place of Rachel with the strength of Leah and saying, here's what I need. Could you please help me? And the could you please help me is so powerful, because that whenever we say could you please help me, it brings us back to the Rachel space. It allows a man to give. Could you please help me says, I'm ready to receive. I'm empowering you to give to me. So even if what my needs are, I really need an hour of help on Erev Shabbos somehow, from you or from a cleaning help, or somehow to make it easier for me. I just feel like I cannot go on like this. I need an hour of help. Can you please help me figure this out? When we bring in that, could you please help me? We're supporting the voice with the feminine, and that's just so beautiful. Now let's look at what it might be like if you're inhabiting more of your Leah self. Okay, that means that perhaps your husband in some way is softer or more submissive, or you kind of are the person that makes the decisions in the family, runs the rhythm, everything revolves around you in some way. Or maybe he just has a very, very gentle, steady way about him. Okay? If you're more inhabited in your Leah self, there is a possibility that you might be feeling alone, unsupported. You might even be feeling critical of his gentle energy, wondering when is he going to speak up for himself, or why isn't he making more proactive moves, right? So what's good for us to realize is that when we are taking up a lot of Leah energy, when we didn't just arrive there by mistake, clearly we needed to step up to that Leah energy. That's how Hashem arranged it. Hashem arranged for that woman to need to do more. Perhaps her husband needed that type of support. So there's nothing wrong with what is. However, by bringing in more Rachel energy to balance it out, we can get the intimacy that we desire. Rachel is all about love and support. The Leah energy is all about intimacy, meaning Leah wants to really know her husband, but maybe her husband is kind of playing it low-key. So how can we more deeply create this peace when we're strongly inhabited in the Leah energy? And that is to bring out more of the Rachel energy, which means to have our eye on how am I supporting my husband exactly where he's at, not pushing, not encouraging. It's bringing a new voice, a softer voice that just embraces exactly where he's at with words of compassion. Okay? If a man has not had the experience, has had the experience of a very Leah wife, right? Or a woman has had the experience of a very Rachel husband, then one of the things that needs to happen is that she needs to make more room for him to hear his own self, because he's so used to hearing his wife's voice. So bringing in the Rachel energy is to embrace him exactly where he's at. No pushing, no encouraging, just words of love and compassion. When we do this, when the Leah does this, she actually feels her own beauty. Because Leah is actually made to do hard things. And it's really hard for her to do that. When she withholds, she feels her own beauty. She feels like, I'm doing something wonderful for the one that I love. Okay? So this is point number 1. Listening into where am I most inhabited, and how can I bring in the other sister in order to help my marriage. Point number 2 is this. We must notice the deepest truth. The deepest truth is that Rachel and Leah are meant to be one soul. Therefore, even though we come into this world with a particularly dominant energy, we have the capacity and the ability to be fully inhabited in both energies within ourselves. And life is actually a journey towards this, where the tough ones get softened and the soft ones get tougher. That's just how Hashem makes it, right? So we sometimes in marriage can fall into a trap of thinking, I'm the soft one, he's the tough one. I'm the busy one, he's the submissive one. I'm the nice one, he's the mean one. Right? I'm the go-getter, he's that one. He's the busy, whatever. We can do that when we're not in great shalom bias, and it comes with a whole bunch of criticisms, right? And not just criticism, it comes with tremendous disempowerment, because we have relegated such beautiful qualities to our other spouse. Someone who's very mellow and gentle may not know that there's an incredible lion leader on their inside. They may just think, oh, that's my spouse. I don't do that. I don't lead, or I don't create, right? So point number 2 is to take stock of how you are actually both energies in your life, and then to take stock of your husband and see, where is he really both energies? In my woundedness, perhaps I'm making him be one or the other, but he's actually both. When I notice this, I bring it out into reality. So I bring more harmony, and I open up more possibilities. So that's point number 2 to look at, is to notice the Rachel and Leah in yourself and the Rachel and Leah in your spouse. Point number 3 is that, like I mentioned, the part of us that is Leah, the part of all of us, wants intimacy. What intimacy means is that I can bravely share all parts of myself, and they can be seen and known by you. First, they can be seen and known by myself. Obviously, that's where the work really is. And then I can make them seen and known by you. When our Leah part feels so desperate to have our experience seen and known, she can feel wounded, critical, abandoned, demanding. So what we need to learn to do in order to achieve real emotional intimacy is first to bring our inner Rachel into our inner experience. You can think to yourself, you sweet thing, you open your house and you open your heart to your husband's family, and then you don't really feel accepted. That must be so hard for you, you say to yourself. Then, when you bring your pain to your spouse, you can bring it to them in a way that can create intimacy, it can create connection. Because you're not just going to say, here is my experience. You're going to bring in the Rachel, the softness. And you can say to them, it hurts me so much that your sister doesn't accept me. I feel so unloved. I feel so disappointed. I feel just terrible about this thing. You're explaining your intimacy with yourself with the softness of the other sister. And now it can be received. Okay? And don't forget the magic words. Could you help me? You get to say, could you help me feel better? Or could you please help me to figure this out? Or could you please help me in some way next time that she's here? Right? But it only works. The Leah part of us only gets the intimacy, the connection, the support that she wants when she can bring her Rachel with her, when she can do this connection with softness. Okay? Because now she's making a space for someone to actually give to her. And that is just such precious, precious knowledge to have. First, to be soft with yourself, then to explain your feelings or your woundedness in softness. Okay, next point. One of the ways that we can marry the Rachel and Leah energy is with our quiet. Quiet doesn't mean that you are shut up or shut down, however you want to say it. Quiet can mean that I'm holding a soft and strong space while you speak. Or I'm holding a soft and strong space while you lead. Sometimes the woman's wisdom will want to speak up and she knows things. But if she embraces her own inner quiet, she can give more room for her husband to find his inner knowing. But this is not we have to be careful that this is not out of balance. So it's not too much Rachel, where she is just silenced and she can't even find her own voice and thoughts. And it's not too much Leah, where she is silenced but internally critical. It's the two of them together, the Azer and the Kenegdo, the helpmate against him, to challenge him, to kind of take a soft and strong space of, I know that you will figure this out. I know you'll figure this out. And these words of trust, powerful trust, are so beautiful in a marriage. And they're particularly beautiful for a husband. I know that you can figure this out. Soft and strong. I'm not abandoning you, and I'm not encroaching on your process. I just know that you can figure this out. That is like fantastic. Okay? Finally, let's look at one more thing, and that is that sometimes there are periods in our life that we literally don't know what to do. We can't get through to our spouses. Life is going off kilter. Maybe we have like a real problem with one of our children, a real problem in the family, a real problem with finances, a real problem with health, and we literally feel like we don't know what to do. So then we take the energies of both, the heartbreak of the Rachel, the power of the Leah, and we bring it up to Hashem. When a husband and wife get married, it says there is actually 3 partners in the marriage, a man, a woman, and God. So when we can't find the answers in ourselves, and we can't find the answers in our spouse, we go to Hashem and we create our shalom bayis there. And we say, Hashem, I'm bringing you my Rachel. I'm bringing you my heartache about this. Hashem, I'm bringing you my Leah, the part of me that really wants things to be different, that is not okay with how things are, that's asking you, please change it. I'm asking you. I'm bringing you my Rachel, the part that's surrendered, that knows that you're in charge, and I trust you, and I know that you already have the answers, and that you are guiding the way. And I'm bringing you my Leah that says, please Hashem, I'm trying to build a beautiful home in this world. Please, could you help me? Okay, so that is our final point in Shalom Bayis, is that we can also create Shalom Bayis with Hashem, that when things are not going well, we don't have to just complain to Hashem. We can bring both of our parts to Hashem, and He can be with all of it. He can be with a part of us that is trusting, and He can be with a part of us that is wanting. And both of those are beautiful, beautiful parts. Okay, dear friends, I hope that this has been helpful to you, and it really is just the tip of the iceberg on this conversation. The more that you think about this, the more that you'll see that the sweetness of inner peace and outer peace happens in the balance of these two energies. It's the male and the female energies that we all have on the inside. And as you give more room for your spouse to find their male energy or their female energy of tending to your needs as you speak up for them, the more you will have more and more shalom bayis, more and more marital harmony. I bless you in every single way, and I thank you so much for being with me today. Alrighty, take care. Bye-bye.